Takadosh Boker Or Masechet Bava Kamma Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph 47a1. We were just talking about right now that in the bottom of 46b, we were just speaking about that Rava answered that we're talking about the para and the vlad belonged to the same person. And therefore we went and we said that if the para is here and you could collect from the para, so therefore you're going to have to pay chatzi nezek from the actual body of the para. And if the para is not here, so then you could only take ravia, a quarter of the nezek from the valad. Now this is where we're going to start today. Says the Gemara, ta'ama. The reason why you're allowed to collect only a quarter of the nezek of the vlad is the lo yadina ni hava vlad bahade kinacha ilo hava, because we don't know if the vlad was still part of the mother when it gored or when it or whether it was already outside when it gored. But if we know as a fact that the child was still in the mother's stomach when it gored, so then what? Nishtalem kule chetzi nezek mivalad. So then what's going to happen is that you're allowed to take the entire chetzi nezek from the vlad. Rava letame, and Rava goes according to his shita, to his reasoning. Tama Rava, but Rava says, para sheizika, right? A para that comes and damages, guva mivlada, you're allowed to collect from the vlad. My tama, what's reasoning? Gufahi, because that is the goof of the para. And therefore, since the ubar is part of the goof of the para, you could come and you could take it from the para without any problems. Tarnegolet shehizika, when we're talking about now a tarnegolet that comes and damages, eno gove mi beitzata, right? When it's not going to collect from the beitza, my tama, what's the reasoning? Pirusha be'almahu, because the beitza is considered like, it's like something separate completely than the, meaning the beitza of a tarnegolet is not like a child, it's not like the fetus of a cow. The fetus of an ox, of a cow, of this, it's a fetus. It's something like, the beitza is something like completely different from the body of the tarnegolet. So by the tarnegolet, the beitza is pirsha be'alma. Pirsha has really been a refuse. It's like nothing. It's like a, it's not kashur to the body of the tarnegolet. But to do with the cow, it's part of the body.
Is it because there's a klipa?
No, I don't think. Yeah, one more time. The beitza doesn't have a life of its own. It's not alive until it's finished, which means that a beitza, right, is not like a fetus. The fetus is alive from the beginning. It's like a child fetus, right? From the beginning, he's alive. Or okay, you're going to tell me after 40 days, he starts getting the, but basically it's alive. It's something there. But when we're talking about the entire concept of the, how do you call this? Of the beitza, it doesn't have a life of its own. That's what's wrote down. Ve'amar Rava. So Rava says, En shamin lepara bifnei atzma ulevlad bifnei atzmo. Says Rava, so because of that, when you have a shore, right, that he comes and he gores a para meuberet, and now she has a miscarriage, you do not evaluate the para by itself and then the vlad by itself. Ela shamin levlad al gav para, but rather you're shamin the vlad with the para, which means how much was the para worth before it was pregnant, and how much was it worth, right, without the pregnancy, basically. With pregnancy, without the pregnancy. She'ima ta'omen, because if you're not going to say that, because if not, then you're making the mazik actually lose out. Because when you're going to come and you're going to evaluate each one on its own, so therefore it's going to be much more than what it is, both of them together. It's like two people and then it's like one person, but it's, you cannot compare the two different cases. The exact same thing halacha would apply. If you're going to cut off the hand of your friend's slave, or the why? Because basically in all these cases, you're not going to evaluate the furrow by itself or the hand by itself, wherever you have to do it with the entire field. Meaning like this, if I'm going to come and tell you how much is the value of one furrow or one row of fruits, so you're going to tell me it costs $100. But if I'm going to tell you, listen, you have an entire field, right? And beforehand, the field had this row. And now the field does not have this row. What's the difference in price? You're not going to tell me $100 because you're not judging on one row of fruit. You're judging an entire field. So since you're judging an entire field, you're going to tell me, listen, maybe it's $50, $70, $80. But you're not going to tell me it's $100, right? You understand what I just told you or not?
No. You're saying the sum of the parts is.
So Amale Rav Acha Berei de Rava le Ravashi. Says Rav Acha Berei de Rava to Ravashi Vidinahu. Now one second. If that's the halacha right now, right? That really behemet, I would have had to evaluate each one on its own. So lichush mazik. So what do I care then? Let him be damaged. And why are we making kilu? Well, we have to let him off the hook. Meaning like this. What exactly is supposed to be the halacha? We said before we didn't want to hurt the mazik so much. The mazik is a damager. Okay, so remember that. Nizak is the one that gets damaged. Mazik is a damager. So we didn't want to hurt the damager so much. So what do we come and we say? We say, listen, the way that we evaluate is that we evaluate together as a package. We don't evaluate it as it's separately. Because if it's separately, it's always going to be different than when it's together. Okay, that's the general rule in everything. Okay, fine. So says the Gemara, but one second, but if that behemet is the case, and that's halacha, so what do I care then about damager? Let him get damaged. He damaged, let him pay for it. What do I care now what's going on exactly? Doesn't make sense. So answers the Gemara, Mishum da Elmaleh, because the mazik could tell him, Para me'abarta izakit, para me'abarta shanin alach. He says, I damaged a para which was pregnant. So therefore, I'm going to be ma'arich a para which is pregnant. Meaning, when you come, you're trying to divide the damagers. You can't do that, right? Because when you're doing that, it's something completely different. Many times when you do it as a package deal, what does a package deal mean? It's always going to be cheaper. It's always going to be a lower in price. If you're going to come and start looking everything separately, right? So then it becomes much more expensive, right? You're going to go to a mechanic. What do? They come and tell you, okay, I'm going to have to fix the bumper, and I'm going to fix this, and fix this. And when they start separating to you all those things, all of a sudden it becomes a very, very big amount. You go to another company, you tell them, listen, I just need you to fix this. It comes, okay, fine. The entire package, here it is. We'll give it to you for less. Why? Because once I start giving you the detailed thing,
the same guy
I'm going to, I'm going to come, and I'm going to do it. You're right. Also, if you divide by people, it's true also. But just that's the way that it is. So says the Gemara, Pshita, it's obvious. Para dechad uvlad dechad. When the para belongs to one and the vlad belongs to other one, so right? So the pitma lebala para. So the shuman goes to the bala para, right? Because at the end of the day, it wasn't because of the vlad. However, the nafcha, right, that it looks bigger, that belongs to my what's salacha. So Rav Papa says that belongs to the bala para, and Rav Acha says no, they divide it, meaning that is what they divide between the vlad and the bala para. The hilchata, what?
You can't say there's a safek.
No.
The vlad is not going to be.
No. And therefore, in hilchata, what is halacha? Chulkin. We come and we're going to say that they divide the payment in between them. Okay, so we're on the Mishnah. Okay, Mishnah Mem Zayin Mud Aleph towards the bottom. Everyone has it? Fine. Says the Mishnah, Hakadar. Okay, a kadar is somebody that works with kedirot. So he's called a kadar. Okay, so the kadar, the one that's working with kedirot, with pots, right, and pans and all these things. He came and he put all his property, he put it inside of the reshut of the balabait without permission. Okay, so imagine, right? He's selling, pottery and all these things. He comes, boom, and he puts it inside of somebody's possessions, but he does it without permission. The shavra, right, behemto shel balabait. Now, what happened was that the behemah, the balabait comes and he broke it. So imagine, without me knowing, somebody comes, puts their pots in my property. I didn't know. My dog or whatever it is, my animal is running around over there, and boom, and he breaks his patur. Obviously, the balabait is going to be patur. Ve'im huskuba. Now, what happens if the dog or whatever it is, my animal gets damaged, right? But obviously, he's obligated to pay. Okay? But if he put it in with permission, bala chatzer is going to be chayav to pay for the nezik and everything that was caused, right, to the kedirot, obviously. Okay? So it makes sense. It depends whether it's permission or without permission. Okay? Very good. Next. What happens if he brought in his perot into my property without the reshut? And then my animal came and ate it. So he's going to be patur. Obviously, it was without reshut. Muska bahen, if you got damaged, bala perot chayav, the bala perot, right? So if the bala perot is going to be chayav to pay for the damages. But if he came in with a reshut, bala chatzer is going to be chayav. So the exact same case, but instead of now of kedirot, is with perot. Okay, the exact same case. Another case. What did he brought in his shore? Without reshut. Okay, memzayin mubet. So the shore of balabait comes and he goes and or the kelev of the Baal Bayit comes and he begs it. Patur is going to be patur. Nagahu shorosh shel Baal Bayit. If he gored the shor of Baal Bayit, he's going to be chayav. Nafal leboro, if he fell inside of the pit, vivish memav, and he made that the water is going to be bad, he's going to be chayav. Why? He ruined the waters. Hayav ivo b'no letucho, if the father or the son was inside of the boat, and now the shore falls in and kills him, he has to pay kofir also as well. But if he came in the shoot, bala chatzer chayav. So then obviously the bala chatzer is going to be chayav to pay for all the nezikin. Rabbi argues in all the cases, bikulan, in all these cases that we've mentioned, whether it's, remember we have three cases, pots, fruits, and the shore. In all these three cases, says Rabbi Omer bikulan, eno chayav ad shekabel alav lishmor, which means even right now, if I gave him permission to bring it into my property, I'm not going to be chayav unless I accept upon myself mefurash to watch over it. Meaning, to give you permission to bring something in, right? Exactly. To bring it, that's one thing. But if I didn't accept upon myself permission, the obligation to watch over it, I'm still going to be patur, right? Why? I told you can bring it in, but I told you now I have to watch over it. I didn't tell you to watch over it.
You have.
There's the Gemara, Mem Zayin Mubed, 47b, the Gemara. Ta'ama, the reason why the Kadar is going to be chayav on the nezek that he causes to the behemoth of the balabait is the shlo b'rshut, because he came in without permission. Ha b'rshut, but if he did come in with the permission, lo mechayav bal kedor, but he's not going to be chayav. Velo amrina, now we're not going to say kabul kabil bal kedor mtilut behemoth bal chatzer, that he accepted upon himself, right, to watch over the behemah of the bal chatzer. What's going on? Mani, who is this? It's Rabbi. It's Rabbi. The Amar, but he says at the end of the Mishnah, kol bistama, which means in all these cases of stam, lo kabila le netiluta. We do not say that mina stam, the kavanah, was to accept upon himself to watch over, right, the chafatzim. And therefore it just doesn't make sense, right? Which means that you see from here that we don't say that mina stam he accept. So that's Rabbi. That was Rabbi, the Sefer of the Mishnah. He does not accept upon himself, right, the obligation of all these things. Okay? So now he comes and he says as follows. So ima seifa. Let's see the seifa. Im ichnis birshut. If right now, right, he comes in with the reshut, bala chatzer is going to be chayav. What does that mean? The bala chatzer is going to be chayav. Atan rabbanan is called according to the rabbis. The amri they say bestama, right? Nami kabule kabilalen tziruta, which means that for sure that it's going to be that he accepted upon himself the watching over it. So that means in the seifa, it's the exact opposite of in the reisha. In the Reisha, we wanted to make a diuk that was going like Rabbi, that basically that he doesn't accept upon himself to come and to start watching over. He gave him permission, but he didn't accept upon himself the obligation of watching over it. But in the Seifa, he says if he didn't put him in the Reshut, so then Bala Chatzer is going to be Chayav. So it's not like Rabbi. Why in the world, right? One more time. I ask you permission. I come and I put my fruits into your property. Your animal comes and eats it. You're going to be Chayav. Why are you going to be Chayav? You just told me you could bring the fruits in the property, but you didn't say you're going to watch over the fruits. So if that's not like Rabbi, that's like Rabbanan. So what's going on then? The Reisha we just said was like Rabbi. And then you tell me now in the Seifa, it's going according to Rabbanan, that he says, that if I give you permission, it means that I accept upon myself the obligation also to watch over it. Vetu, and furthermore, Rabbi comes and he says, Bekulan, in all these cases, Eno chayav ad shekabel alav balabait, right, lishmor. In all the cases, you're not going to be chayav until you accept upon yourself, right, that you're going to actually watch over it. So Reisha v'Seifa Rabbi Metziata Rabbanan. So now it makes even less sense. Because you just proved to me that the Reisha was Rabbi. That's what you proved to me in the Reisha. In the middle, which was the Seifa, but now we're calling it the middle, right, because it's before Rabbi, right, there we proved it was like Rabbanan. And then 2 seconds later, you tell me, Rabbi Omer, Rabbi says, Bekulan, and then Rabbi. I don't understand. The Reish of the Mishnah, Rabbi. Middle of the Mishnah is Rabbanan. End part of the Mishnah is Rabbi. How does that make sense? You understood how the end of the Rabbi. It says Rabbi Omer. Rabbi Omer, Bekulan, and so the last part of the Mishnah, for sure, is Rabbi. The first part of the Mishnah we proved was already Rabbi. And the middle case, it was Rabbanan. Something wrong here. Yeah?
But they're almost the same, the first part and the second part. It's just the perot and the.
No. But it was the diuk. The diuk is that we always kept on saying that if you do it bereshut, if you do it with permission, so then the balach, he's going to be chayav. So what does that mean? He comes and he says, right? What did he say? He says, kabule kabil bal kedron itinuto devemtod balachatzer. And therefore, who is this? Who is this that says that he's not going to be chayav in the nizke beemtod balachatzer? Right? Who's going to say that? That's going to be only according to Rabbi then.
Rabbi is adding a condition.
Which one? Rabbi. Yes, Rabbi is adding that he has to accept upon himself, not only just giving him permission, he has to accept upon himself the responsibility of a shomer. So he's adding. So the Reisha is Rabbi. The middle part is Rabbanan. The Seifa is Rabbi. Doesn't make sense. So Amar Rabbi Zera says Rabbi Zera, no, you're right. Mish shana zo, lo shana zo. The one that said the Reisha, which right in the Seifa, meaning that there's no stira bemet, because the one that taught the Reisha, right, which is going to Rabbi, didn't teach the Seifa. So therefore, you cannot have. That means the first answer is you're right. It was two different authors. So you cannot come and say it was the same person, because if not, it just doesn't make sense, right? That's the first answer. There's the answer of Rabbi Zera. Okay, so basically two different authors. So if I taught one part, if I was going like Rabbi, so I didn't teach the second part. And if you were going like the Rabbanan, you didn't teach the first part. You only taught the second part, which is Rabbanan. Okay? Rava comes and he says, no. The entire thing is Rabbanan. Kula Rabbanani. The entire thing, the Reisha and the Seifa is Rabbanan. When we're talking about Birshut, Shemira Kederot, Kabel Elav Balachatzer, Vafilu Nishbiru Aruach. He says the Balachatzer, he was actually accepted upon himself to be Shomer on the Kederot. And even if it was the Ruach and not his own animal that came and broke it, he has to actually come and he has to pay for it. Because when he gives him permission to bring in his things, it's Ke'ilu now that it's under my wings. It's under my protection.
Reshut and Shomer would be the same, no?
Huh?
Reshut.
Yes. Well, according to this, yes. According to Rabbanan. It's according to Rabbanan. Right? This is according to Rabbanan.
That's your comment.
If right now he comes and he puts in the fruits into the chatzer of a balabait, okay, and he did it without permission, and now it gets damaged. So we said the balapirot is going to be chayav. So Amar Rav says, Lo Shana, what are we dealing with? Ela uchleku bahen, if he slipped on them. Aval achla, but if he ate it, he's going to be patur. My time, what's reasoning? Havale shelo tochal, which means like this. What did we just say? We just said, you brought your fruits into the property of the balabait. The animal got damaged of the balabait, so you're chayav. Says the Gemara, what are you chayav? If your animal was going and it slipped on it. So now you're going to be chayav. Right? Why? Because your fruits caused damage to my animal. Okay. But what happens if my animal was a fresser? You know what a fresser is? Right? They like to eat. So he comes and starts eating and eating and eating and eating. And he saw bracha over there. Right? There was a lot of fruits. So he just ate and ate and ate and ate until he dropped dead. Says Rav Patur. Why? Who told him to eat? Who told him to eat? He ate too much. That's his problem. If it caused the damage, which is, I could understand, fine. But if he's eating and eating and eating and eating, listen, what do you want from us? So Amar of Sheshat says of Sheshat, Amina, I'm going to say, I'm going to say that when he was sleeping, he said this. You know, sometimes you come and you say, the guy was half asleep when he was talking, right? Or half drunk, right, when he's talking. So he comes and he says, he was half asleep when he said such a thing. Titania, as we learned in a braita, Hanoten samamavel ifnei be'emat chavero. Imagine that somebody puts poison in front of your friend's animal. Patur min dinei adam v'chayav dinei shamayim. You're going to be patur min dinei adam v'chayav dinei shamayim. Samamavetu delo avida dachla. Why? Because it's samamavet. So if it's samamavet, it's not going to eat it. Aval perot, but if it's going to be perot, tavida that it does usually eat. Bedinei adam nam yichayav. You should be chayav even in dinei adam. Now the Gemara asks, why? You shouldn't have eaten it. Which means like this. One more time. Comes Rav Sheshat and he argues on Rav. Rav said, it all depends how was the damage done. If I gave him the permission to come and put in the fruits, and then all of a sudden my animal got damaged, he's going to be chayav to pay for my animal. Now the question is, how did he get damaged? So obviously, says Rav, he slipped. Because if it was that he damaged the fact that he was just eating and then he died because he was overeating, So he shouldn't have eaten. So he's going to be patur. So says the Gemara, right? Says the Gemara, 1 second. He says he was sleeping. Why was he sleeping in such a case? He comes and he says, in such a case, he was sleeping. He says, because there's another case, which is actually brought down, that what happens if you put poison in front of your animal's friend? Your friend's animal. Yeah? You put poison in front of him, right? And what happens is that you put the poison there and he eats it. So you're going to be patur midine adam, meaning I can't take you to bedin. But you're chayav b'dinei shamayim, meaning mitzad shamayim you're chayav because you just killed the animal. But midine adam I can't obligate you. Why? It's not normal for the animal to eat this. So since it's not normal for the animal to eat it, so therefore you're going to be patur midine adam. But if it was fruit, you're going to be chayav, even b'dinei adam. לא, אתה אכלת, you're chayav. So therefore you see from here this braita, you're going to be chayav if you put fruits. Okay? So Amri, they went and they said, Hu adin afilu perot nami patur. Really, be'emet, you should be patur even by perot midin adam. But here what are we teaching you? Tafilu samama nami dolavida da achla chayav b'dinei shamayim. Here the chidush was by b'dinei shamayim. Meaning the chidush was that even though it's not normal for him to eat poison, meaning it doesn't even look good. It doesn't make sense even why he's eating the poison. You're still going to be chayav b'dinei shamayim. That was the chidush. Okay, another answer. Yeah, and if you want, you could answer. He says, Sama mavet nami, also by poison, bafrazta dehainu peire. We're talking about an esef, a grass, which this is like perot. So therefore, since the animal looks at it and it says, this is food, he doesn't realize that it's poison ivy. Okay, but yeah, meaning that the animal doesn't realize that it's poison. So in such a case, that's why you're going to be chayav b'dinei adam. But for the animal, it looks like normal food, but he doesn't realize it's mamash poison.
Some of mavet is also poison.
Yeah, some mavet is poison. Mavet is death. Some is like a remedy, a medicine. So some mavet is anything of poison. We call it some hamavet.
The angel of death also.
No, malach hamavet. Malach is an angel. Some is like a remedy, like a potion, a drug, a potion. It's called the some. Okay, a drug. How do you call drugs? Samim. Samim, drugs. So it's called a drug. Right? Obviously, right? When you're talking about the drugs, obviously there's the positive and negative in drugs, but I'm saying, but that's a concept. Okay? Meitve. So we're going to ask the following question. Imagine right now a woman comes into her friend's house without permission and starts using the grinder. And she's grinding wheat. So now what happens is she's doing everything and she doesn't realize that the animal, the balabait, is eating everything up. So patur, the balabait is going to be patur. Why? Who told her to come in? Yeah, well, what's she coming into my property without permission? Now if the animal got damaged, she's going to be chayevet also. Says the Gemara, why? We should have said the same thing, that the animal shouldn't have eaten it up. Why is she going to be chayevet? And the animal shouldn't have eaten. We said, why is it better than our Mishnah? We said in our Mishnah, we made an ukimta. Ukimta means we established that our Mishnah is speaking about a certain case. What was the case in our Mishnah? That it slipped. So same thing. We were told you were talking about that it ate it. It slipped. That's when she's going to be chayevet. So same thing. So says the Gemara, so what was the havamina then? What was the doubt that you're coming and you're actually saying this? So Amar Lecha, he's going to tell you, Bishlam Amatnitin. I understand on Mishnah, Ktani we learned, imuska bahem, if they were damaged, shiuchleka bahem. When it uses the terminology, imuska bahem, that there was damage, it meant huchleka bahem. So Ktani, so therefore we come and say imuska, but we didn't learn bahem. So therefore, achilahu detani. Meaning, if you say muska bahem, you were damaged with them, and damaged with them means you were damaged with the perot. How? You slipped on the perot. If it just says you were damaged, it means that you weren't damaged with the perot. You ate the perot. And that's why it damaged. But not that it was damaged through them. So therefore, that's how he's making a diuk of the difference between them. The idach, another one. Amalacha is going to tell you, Loshna, he told you bahen, lo bahen. He didn't like this, like you're choosing one extra word. He doesn't like that. Another question on Rav. Tashema. Imagine right now you come and you bring your shor into the chatzer balabayit, shelo bishul, without permission. Ve'achal chitin, and you ate the chitin, trees, right? And now he started doing shilshulim, started having diarrhea. Yeah, umet, and he dies. Patur, you're going to be patur. So imagine the guy obviously ate something that was not, whatever. So he comes, he eats the chitin, and then he started getting this shilshulim. The owners didn't pay attention that he was getting dehydrated. And the guy dropped the animal dropped dead. So he's going to be patur. Now, if he got permission, balachatzer is going to be chayav. Why? You shouldn't have eaten. So Rava says, bishut, ashelo bishut karamit. You're asking a question from reshut to not reshut. Birshut, shmirat shoro kibel alav. Right? The second that you get reshut, it's ki'ilu that you accepted upon yourself the shmirah, and therefore afilu chanaket etzmo. Even if the shor came and he strangled himself, you're going to be chayav to pay. So kol sheken in such a case, right, of this as well. So obviously, this was going into the accordance of the Rabbanan, right, as we mentioned before. That the second that you give permission for somebody to bring in something into your property, it's ki'ilu that you're right now in charge of the shmirah as well. Okay? Next part, Ibailu. We're going to ask a question. Hechad de kabila le netiruta. Mau. What's halacha if the balabait accepts upon himself the responsibility? Right? What's halacha? Right? From which nizakim does he accept him to himself? Tenafsheu de kabila le, only for himself? Or dima from the dama, or even from his other things as well. That's nothing to do with him. Meaning like this, right? John Paul comes and he gives me this to watch over. So when I come and I say, okay, fine, I'm going to watch over it, bring it to my house, does that mean I'm going to make sure that my children don't play with it, or my animals are not going to destroy it? Or does that mean that even something external? Or is it only internal? Meaning, does it mean only that my things? Or does it mean that I accept upon myself even things which are external that are also not going to damage it? That's the question.
Chinam, right?
Right? Yeah, obviously we're done with Chinam. Yeah? So Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Tani Rabbi Yehuda bar Simon ben Nezikin de Karna. He's talking about the Masechet Nezikin, which was Karna was teaching. Right? Ichnis perotav chatzer balabait shelo b'rshut ubashor b'makom acher v'achalam patur. If he ichnis, right, b'rshut, chayav. Now, if he brought it in with permission, he's going to be chayav. Now, again, what were we talking about? We're talking about, right, that there was a shor mimakom acher. A shor came from elsewhere. It wasn't my shor. It was another person's shor that came and ate from it. So says the Gemara, man patur, man chayav. Who's the one that's patur? Who's the one that's chayav? Lav, are you not telling me that the patur is the bala chatzer and the one that's going to be chayav is the bala chatzer? Meaning that if every single time we use the terminology patur and chayav, it means the same person, which is a bala chatzer. So therefore, here you come out and you see that if it was done birshut with permission, even though the shor came makom acher, the shor came from somewhere else and damaged, I'm still going to be chayav. Because that's what the writer said. Even if he came mimakom acher, you're going to be chayav. And we understood that chayav means bala chatzer is chayav because he was with permission. So the answer is given, no, amri lo. Patur is bala shor, and the chayav is bala shor. It's not the bala chatzer. It's bala shor, meaning, right, when it says patur, we're talking about bala shor, that he came and he ate the perot, that he's not going to be chayav to pay if he brought it in without the reshut. And when we said chayav, we're talking about bala shor, that he's chayav to pay for the nezek if he brought it in with reshut. So according to this, it's nothing to do with bala chatzer. It has to do with bala shor. So ask the Gemara, the bala shor, if you're going to tell me now it's bala shor, right? My birshut or my shelo birshutika. What's the difference between the perot that you're putting in the chatzer, birshut bala chatzer, or without the reshut? What's going on then? So Amri, memchet amud aleph on the top. So Amri, we said, birshut, havale shem birshut anizak. If you give him permission to bring it in, it's shem birshut anizak. The shem birshut anizak is going to be chayevet, right? To pay for the nezek.
So
okay?
So the bala shor owes the bala chatzer.
Yes, bala chatzer. And if it's shelo birshut, so it's shem birshut rabim.
Does the bala chatzer pay the perot? The bala perot?
The bala chatzer will not pay for the bala perot. No. One more time. Yeah, one more time. He says, yeah, birshut means, right, that the nezek was caused, and therefore it's considered shem birshut anizak, because the behemah was mazik with shen in the property of the nizak, and therefore he's going to be chayav l'shalem. But if the perot were put into the chatzer shelo birshut, so therefore it's considered like nezek, right, which was caused shem birshut rabim, and therefore if it's going to be shem birshut rabim, Turah, he doesn't have to pay for it. I'm going to ask you a question, right? One more time. My animal comes and he starts eating fruits in the public domain. My animal, public domain, is he chayav?
Fruits that
Are in the public domain. Not even if it's efficacious, even if it's your fruits, but it's in the public domain. Is he chayav or not?
If the trees go out and
Whatever the case is, it's in the Reshut Rabin. It's on the floor. Doesn't matter. Yeah?
yes.
He's patur. Why is he patur? Shem birshut rabim is patur. If it's shem birshut nizak, it's going to be chayav. So therefore, I'm the balaperot. I come and I put in, right, birshut. Once I put in the fruits into your property birshut, now it's like my reshut. So when your animal comes and he eats my fruit, he's going to be chayav. So that's what he says. He's going to be chayav. Okay, but. Right? But he comes and he says, but if right now it was without permission, so then it's like Shem B'Reshut Rabim. Because then it's like I put it in your property, but your property is like Reshut Rabim because you didn't have the permission to put your things in my property. So it's Shem B'Reshut Rabim. And therefore you're going to be Patur.